get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Bienvenidos, mi amores, to the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And if you don't like it, what's the matter with you, Yes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And on this episode, this is definitely one where we are going to have a blast. Now, there have been a lot of different news that occurred, including some very surprising news that actually did happen in the last minute. Even just before I got started with this one, I had to go and create some last minute adjustments like, whoops, we need to go and add this one in because holy crap, there's a lot of stuff that we are going to talk about. Now, I have stated before on social media when announcing this episode that there will definitely be a lot of moments where we are going to laugh, where we are going to cry, but one thing I can guarantee you for a fact is that we are going to have a lot of fun on this one. I can guarantee you that. So, with all that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it. Are we ready to go and start this episode? Let me hear it. Come on, say it. Yes, okay, already we have some people that are prepared. We got some people that are ready. That's what I like to hear. Yes, yes, yes. There we go. So now we are ready. We are set. And now let the show begin. And with our first story that we have here, well, I apologize that I did hype you up this way because we do have to start things off on a down note. Now, this may not necessarily reflect on animation per se, but I gotta say, even though we are just starting the year, this is a death that already, this hurts, like, a lot. As someone who has grown up with this group, as someone who has been massively influenced by this group, this is honestly a bit of news that it kind of did broke my heart, and it really is sad in many ways, and I will explain to you a little bit more. So, the first story, of course, I need to go and talk about and pay my respects to Terry Jones. Yes, unfortunately, this week, one of the members of Monty Python's Flying Circus, Terry Jones, has unfortunately passed away. He died at the age of 77 due to a rare form of dementia known as FTD, or to go into a little bit more specifics, which I will read a little bit from my source here on the BBC, which is a frontotemporal dementia, which is an uncommon type of dementia that mainly affects the front and sides of the brain. Now, this was something that Terry Jones had for several years, and it has been a bit widely known as well. It's not like something that was kept a secret a little bit. It's not in the veins of like Gene Wilder hiding his illness and then suddenly he passed away. This was something that a lot of people were kind of aware that Terry Jones did have this form of dementia, and unfortunately this week it did catch him. And throughout the week, we have seen a lot of people sharing their respects to him, most namely coming from the members of Monty Python's Flying Circus, or at least the remaining members, since technically Terry Jones wasn't the first one who passed away. Many decades ago, there was Graham Chapman, who was the first one who passed away. Graham Chapman, in the Monty Python group, he is known as the general, who would often come in and say, like, stop everything, it is silly. And also, he had the starring role in Monty Python and the Holy Grail as King Arthur. But this isn't about Graham Chapman, of course. This is about Terry Jones. So going back into some of the quotes that I would have here of people who did mention him. First of all, we're going to talk about John Cleese, one of the members, of course, as he stated that he described Jones as, where is it? Oh, there we go. He says that he was a man of so many talents and such endless enthusiasm. Eric Idle then added in by saying, that he recalled the many laughs and moments of total hilarity. It is too sad if you knew him, but if you didn't, you will always smile at the many wonderfully funny moments he gave us. Then we also got another quote from Terry Gilliam, who is the animator of Monty Python's Flying Circus. And also, on a side note, he was also a co-director of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, by stating that Terry Gilliam, he was a brilliant, constantly questioning, iconoclastic, righteously argumentative, and angry, but outrageously funny and generous and kind human being. One could never hope for a better friend. But then there is one of the saddest quotes, which, well, I say that it's one of the saddest because among all the Monty Python members, the one that would be described as Terry Jones' best friend, and the one that was closest to him in the group, would have to be Michael Palin. And it states here what Michael Palin said, at least in this quote: Terry was one of my closest, most valued friends. He was kind, generous, supportive, and passionate about living life to the full. He was far more than one of the funniest writers-performers of his generation. He was the complete Renaissance comedian, writer, director, presenter, historian, brilliant children's author, and the warmest, most wonderful company you could wish to have. Now, and let me go and talk to you a little bit about the role that Terry Jones had in Monty Python's Flying Circus, because he definitely was a key player. I mean, technically you could say that every single one of these people is a total key player. That's definitely true. But with Terry Jones, he did contribute a lot. And by the way, I just want to mention Daniel is the Vasquez. Thank you so much for subscribing to my Twitch. Anyways, going back to what I was talking about with Terry Jones, he definitely was a key player in the way that he'd help grew Monty Python existentially, not only playing in major key parts, but probably his biggest contribution really was being the director. Along with Terry Gilliam, he was the director of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, along with playing numerous of roles like Sir Bedivere, I believe that's what his name is. He was the knight that's like dressed up all in blue, and he had a cage on his mask that he would often lift up, and then you see his long mustache going down. But then there are several other roles that he has been well known for. Some examples, trying to find where it is. Here. Okay, right here. In Monty Python, some of the most well-known roles that Terry Jones played included Arthur Two Sheds Jackson, Cardinal Biggles of the Spanish Inquisition, and Mr. Creosote. And Mr. Creosote is another very popular one that came from one of the Monty Python movies. If you don't know Mr. Creosote, there's this one very famous bit in The Meaning of Life, to be specific, the 1983 movie, where Mr. Creosote is just massively fat. Like, this is like exaggeratingly, stupidly fat, going in this 5-star fancy restaurant where apparently he was a regular, and he would non-stop be throwing up everywhere, and he would go and eat literally everything. Like, when the menu would show up to him, all he says is just he wants the lot. All of that in a bucket with eggs on top. So he would go and eat everything and throw up everything. And then right at the end, John Cleese, playing the French waiter, he would offer, like right at the end, after eating everything, just a little piece of waffle thin. And then after he eats it, he blows up. This is one of the few moments where gross out, throw up humor actually does work. It actually makes it funny. And the execution of it all in that bit, in The Meaning of Life, it really is worth a watch. In fact, many people could even say that it was the most memorable skit in The Meaning of Life. But going back into talking about Terry Jones, and just to mention a little bit on my side, if you guys know me, then you know very well that one of my biggest comedic influences ever is Monty Python's Flying Circus. I would even go as far as say that it's one of my favorite TV shows, and even if you are watching this, by the way, whether it be live on Twitch or on YouTube, then if you do look, hold on a sec, there we go. If you do look behind me, I actually do have a poster of Monty Python. It's a pretty large poster that is just filled with different Monty Python quotes, and if you could see here, like in the bottom corner, there is Terry Jones right there. So I am a huge Monty Python fan, and hearing about this death, it honestly is truly sad. It really is, and it's not just the fact that another Monty Python member has passed away, that we got our second Monty Python member dead, but I think the real tragedy of this, and what truly makes this sad, is the fact that we saw this coming. This was honestly something that was a long time coming. As I stated before, regarding the dementia of Terry Jones, he had this for a while, and it has been in the public's mind where, like, this was already a well-known fact about Terry Jones, where even to this day, some of the other members have been very active. People like Eric Idle, John Cleese, Michael Palin, Terry Gilliam, but Terry Jones lately, he had been on the down low. Like, he was picking up the pace as much as his other members, but then as time would move on, things were getting slower and slower and slower for him, and it was because of the dementia. And that's why, unfortunately, beforehand, if you would go and ask any Monty Python fan regarding who do you think would be the next person to pass away in the Monty Python group, then it would be way too easy of an answer. Now we would just say, well, it was Terry Jones, because he had the illness, and sooner or later it would just catch up to him. And that's kind of the real tragedy of all this, is that it really was a long time coming. And this is something that I have learned personally and firsthand as well. Well, not necessarily firsthand, because I'm not dead, but what I mean is that in the case of Terry Jones, or in the case of this kind of death, it actually hurts a lot more when the death would be lingering on and you know that it would be coming for a long time, than something that's just shocking and out of nowhere. Like, honestly, if you would pick one over the other, honestly, the latter would be for the best, honestly. Like, at least the thing is with the shock, like, at least with the shock, the sudden thing, at least, like, it's a moment that can just happen really quick, and like, even after you get through the shock, like, it gets a little easier to go through the mourning process and be more accepting about what actually happened, or at least that can vary from person to person. In regards, in comparison to, like, someone that you knew is going to die and it would just, like, linger on, then like, something would just come up, and you just end up getting mixed emotions for, like, months on end or even years. So that's kind of the tragic thing about this whole situation. And honestly, at least for me, the one thing that I do feel is actually very coincidental for me is the fact that, I kid you not, on the day before on the day before Terry Jones passed away, I was actually watching on TV And Now for Something Completely Different. And if you guys don't know And Now for Something Completely Different, that's actually the first Monty Python movie that's basically a best of compilation clip of, like, the best skits from Monty Python's Flying Circus, like the Dead Parrot sketch and all that kind of stuff. And if there is one Monty Python sketch that I would remember the most from Terry Gilliam, the funny thing is that he could be a great goofball. Like, Terry Jones knows very well. Or did I say Terry Gilliam again? Fudging habit. Okay, Terry Jones. I need to remember. It's about Terry Jones. Okay, but if there is one sketch about Terry Jones, that I would remember the most, like, he has done a lot of goofball roles, but he also did some really good straight man roles. And one that I'll remember the most is the one where he is the straight man, And then you have Eric Idle on the side asking a lot of weird questions about his wife. Like, you see Terry Jones dressed up very posh, very English gentleman-like, and then you have Eric Idle on the side going like, is your wife a goer? A goer? Know what I mean? Know what I mean? Nudge, nudge, know what I mean? It's just so beautiful, and you could tell how the two worked so beautifully in that bit, and that's just one of the many memorable moments with Terry Jones. So that's just at least for me. I can think of like countless of others, but I think that's the one that's really going to stand out for me in regards of the roles of Terry Jones. But overall, though, this truly is a bit of a tragic moment in the field of comedy, especially coming from one of the most influential comedy groups of all times, the Beatles of comedy per se. So, seeing Terry Jones pass away, it definitely is a sad moment, especially when the fact that it is a long time coming. But if there is a way that I can conclude this in a Monty Python fashion, just to, brighten up the mood a little bit, the one thing that I will say that is actually good about his death is that I am so glad that the Monty Python team has all agreed for one person to finally be Graham Chapman's roommate up in the sky, because I'm sure that Graham Chapman is up there, that he has been spending decades just freaking jacking off wherever he goes, dressing up as a woman, or either not dressing up at all, running around in the clouds, being naked, going crazy. At least now we can have someone that can control him. At least Terry Jones can come in and just say, Graham, alright, I'm here now. Behave yourself. Now stop it. Stop it. There you go. Someone put a bloody leash on the man. Jeez. You think Jesus or Gabriel might have done something, but already he's even too loose for them. So, that's probably one good thing we could say about Terry Jones passing away and moving on to the other life, because someone's gotta tame frickin' Graham. Okay, so with all that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask, do you have any memorable times related to the works of Terry Jones? Or is there any nice words that you would like to say regarding the passing of Terry Jones? If there's any memorable moment that you had a great time related to Terry Jones, let me know what you all think. Or even with some of the movies that he directed, like, did you enjoy Holy Grail or Life of Brian or Meaning of Life? Let me know in the chat. Let me know what you have to say. Okay, let's see here. Even as someone who isn't necessarily a huge Monty Python fan, and is only familiar of it through the I Don't Like Spam skit, it still sucks that Terry Jones has to go soon. I'll admit that it was weird to see the death of Mr. Peanut overshadow it in his media, but regardless, I bid Terry a sweet farewell and good luck with serving meals of spam to the angels. Oh, and that's another really memorable bit with Terry Jones, that he played the waitress, he was the waitress in the restaurant that for some reason, 98% of the things that they have in the menu is just spam. Where you got spam, eggs and bacon, spam sausage, spam and eggs, spam, eggs, spam, sausage, spam, bacon, spam. And then, of course, one thing that I would like to go in that restaurant, and I am intrigued of trying out a little bit, is the spam, bacon, spam, eggs, spam, extra bacon. I want to try that out. I don't know how that's going to taste, but it seems a little bit curious. All right. Let's see now. What else do we got? I didn't get to see Monty Python as a kid because the series was banned in my country due to the jokes about religion. I only saw the Holy Grail as a request from a fan as an adult. But it is still sad to see a fellow member of Monty Python to go. May Terry rest in peace. As a person who has a relative who also has dementia, I can imagine how difficult it was for Terry. But we shouldn't be too sad. As they say, always look on the bright side of life. Exactly, man. I'm glad that at least, like, I know, like, a lot of you watching this or listening to this, you may not necessarily be Monty Python fans, but at least some of the little, even, like, some of the little Monty Python references, you know, it's like, I'm glad to see that you guys do know that. It does, like, as a Monty Python fan myself, it does bring me joy to see, like, even if you're just referencing Spam or Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, it's still Monty Python. It's still great. Okay, let's see. While he may be remembered for Monty Python, I will always remember him as the co-creator of an animated series I used to watch called Blazing Dragons, which I personally find to be an underrated gem. It was made by Nelvana in 1996. It aired on Teletoon and syndication, but I watched it on Toon Disney back in 2002. And yeah, like, even though I mainly just focus on his works on Monty Python, he definitely did do a lot of stuff, and, like, even in terms of animation, he has definitely did, like, a lot of voiceover roles, and even created a few animated projects, and it even stated here that he did, you know, he did write children's books as well. Let's see here. There's only a few things that makes me laugh nowadays, and Monty Python is one of them. Am I one of them too? Nah, I'm just kidding, dude. Anyways, to lose one of the members of the Monty Python certainly does make me sad. Though we should always remember what they say, rather saying at the end of Life of Brian, always look on the bright side of life. Of course. Let's see. Here's a fun fact according to Wikipedia. Jones also wrote an early draft of Jim Henson's 1986 film Labyrinth, though little of his work remained in the final cut. That is true, actually. That is a good point. I almost forgot about that part. Yeah, it is true that Terry Jones once helped out Jim Henson with Labyrinth, even though in terms of Labyrinth itself, you don't really see a whole lot of Terry Jones in it, but you could definitely see a little bit of the influence, especially with some of the comedic side, especially, it does have that awkward blend of, like, the realistic mythical design, like in The Dark Crystal, but then suddenly has a little bit of that humor that you would find in, like, The Muppet Show or something, but you could definitely tell the comedy did have a little bit of that Terry Jones influence. So at least, like, his contribution there was something. Let's see. I took my father to see Monty Python and the Holy Grail in theaters, where John Cleese did a Q&A afterwards, and he talked a lot about Graham Chapman and Terry Jones. He was a legend, and he will be missed greatly. Oh my god, you just made me jealous, dude. I just remembered watching Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Monty Python and the Life of Brian, and Monty Python's Flying Circus tomorrow. My comedy was back in middle school along with Tim Allen and on PBS reading The True Story of the Three Little Pigs, and how great the sense of humor that I have the day. So I cannot thank these men enough for what they have given us, and may he watch over John Cleese in heaven. Just John Cleese? I'm only Alright, while I'm in heaven, I'm only going to be watching you, John. Eric, Gilliam, and Michael, they'll be fine, but I'm keeping an eye on you. You bloody twat. Alright, anyways, going on. I'll read one more comment, and then we're going to move on to our next story. If you were a special guest on Saturday Night Live, you should do a tribute to Monty Python. You already got a good impression and many of the members. Well, I mean, I could do voice acting. I don't know if I would go full on Saturday Night Live, but I mean, like, yeah, I could do impressions, but like, I'll just focus one step at a time. Let me focus on my voice acting, then I'll see if I can make it to Saturday Night Live. Alright, so that was a lovely little moment with Terry Jones, but now it is time that we are going to jump onto our next story. And before we go and continue with our next story, I would like to go and make a sincere apology about what I am going to be talking about. This is honestly going to be something that it has been all over the news non-stop, day after day, week after week, and I thought even in something like AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast that I could escape from all the talk about this. But it seems that with the news today, even animation cannot escape this kind of news. And I'm sorry to do this, but unfortunately, even in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, I gotta talk about the British royal family. It seems like the news cannot stop talking about the freaking royal family, like I said, day after day, week after week, non-stop. It always seems that you always gotta get bombarded with at least 5 headlines regarding either the royal family or even with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. It's the kind of celebrity gossip news that I don't freaking care about. Like, honestly, like hearing about the Senate trial of Donald Trump's impeachment, that felt like a breath of fresh air, because at least it ain't freaking Prince Harry and Meghan Markle taking 5 steps in Vancouver to check their new house or whatever. Oh boy. But like I said, not even animation can escape it, because now it seems like the royal family is getting their own animated series. Yes, folks, HBO Max has officially greenlit a satirical comedy series based on the royal family, which will be called The Prince. And some of you might be wondering, which prince are we talking about here? Because in the royal family, there has been a lot of princes. Like, we got Prince Philip, we got Prince Charles, we got Prince Harry, we got Prince William, but it's actually going to be none of that. Whom we are actually going to be focusing on is the youngest prince, the youngest person who is in line for the throne, which is Prince William and Kate Middleton's son, I believe. Is that how you say her name? Yes, Kate Middleton, yeah. It's going to be their kid, Prince George. And this is actually going to be brought to us by Gary Janetti, the producer of Family Guy, in which there is actually a very strange source coming from this series. It is actually based on something, and it's not necessarily the royal family themselves. This is actually based on Gary Janetti's Instagram account, which is actually very viral and very popular, gathering nearly 1 million followers, where all he does is, or at least mainly, he would create posts about the royal family, and he would have his own comedic take on it, and a lot of it is regarding, like, the satirical point of view of little George here. And surprisingly enough, regarding this show in particular, it actually does have an all-star cast with some pretty familiar names. And regarding George himself, he is actually going to be voiced by Gary Janetti. Pretty much since he is a Family Guy producer, I wouldn't be surprised if this is because he was influenced by Seth MacFarlane being the main voice of Family Guy. So in here, regarding the cast, who is going to be voicing the royal family here? Well, first of all, we actually have Orlando Bloom that's going to be the voice of Prince Harry. You got Condola Rashad playing as Meghan Markle, Lucy Punch as Kate Middleton, Tom Hollander, who will play both roles of Prince Philip and Prince Charles. You got Alan Cumming playing as George's butler Owen. You got Frances de la Tour as Queen Elizabeth. And finally, you got Iwan Wren as Prince William. And for those of you who want to know what this show is about, if you want to know regarding what this series is, if it's more than just like a satirical take on the royal family starring little George here, reading from my source here on Deadline, it states, "The Prince is described as a biting, satirical look at the life of Prince George of Cambridge, the youngest heir to the British throne, as he navigates the trials and tribulations of being a royal child. Before George rules Britannia, he'll be laying down his own laws in Janetti's comedic take of the future King of England's childhood, as seen from the prince's own point of view. Because his succession isn't coming anytime soon, in each episode, George will find his path in life as a young prince in modern times, from the 775 rooms of Buckingham Palace to his family's sea of corgis to primary school with commoners." We also got a few quotes here, first of all coming from Sarah Aubrey, who is the head of original content on HBO Max, stating, "We're so excited to bring the world of Gary's created on Instagram over to HBO Max, where our viewers can discover what his Instagram fans already know, that George can be hilarious, shocking, and surprisingly sweet. We can't wait to see what Gary does with a bigger canvas to paint on than just 1:1 square. Do we have any more accounts? Do we have something? Or, yeah, I guess one more little quote here coming from Gary Janetti himself, stating, "I'm thrilled to be working on HBO Max and bringing them yet another series about a family ruthlessly fighting for the throne." So that's pretty much the big thing that is going on here. Oh, and, I just want to go and mention, by the way, that this is not the only project that Gary Janetti has for HBO Max, since apparently there was one that was already announced, a series that is called Brad and Gary Go to Wherever, which is a travel documentary with Gary's husband, the popular celebrity stylist Brad Goretsky. So basically it's the two traveling to wherever, and this is one of their series. So, in this case here, going back to the prince itself, first of all, I would like to go and make a little comment regarding the first image that we see here. The image of the royal family themselves and how they are going to be presented in the show. And first of all, I would like to ask, what the fridge is this? Because I get it, it's a satirical take on the royal family, and they are meant to be caricatures, but there's a fine line between caricatures and mutations. And this, it's hard to point out where this would be categorized, because, okay, I'll give it this. Like, the kids themselves, they don't look too bad. I mean, like, you got like William and Kate's kids that, they're fine. I mean, like, they're no different than the kids you would find on Family Guy. And then you also got Meghan Markle herself. She kind of came out all right. Like, yeah, her head is kind of inflated to where, like, she looks like a bit of a mascot. But other than that, she looks fine. She came out all right. Everyone else, however, what the fridge happened here? Like, you got William who, like, you got William who looks like his head is transformed into a bowling pin with giant lips, where it's at the point that I don't know if this is a caricature of Prince William, or honestly, he looks like he's slowly like he's in the middle of the process of morphing into Michael Eisner. You got Kate Middleton here, where she looks like she is getting cheekbones for days. She is getting cheekbones that can make Angelina Jolie jealous. And then, like, you got Harry, which I don't know why. Like, I guess he exchanged to have a bigger mouth instead of just having, like, his eyes in regular positions. Now it looks like his eyes are just getting way too close together. And don't even get me started on the older side of the family. Like, you got Charles here, which I don't know, like, what's going on with him. Like, yeah, he's got his weird little teeth, like bad posture, and then he's got ears where you got crows coming. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's one episode where there's gonna be a bunch of crows coming into George, and he'll say, like, for old Charlie there, use the magic feather, catch him. And then, like, holy crap, probably one of the scariest things that I've seen in this picture is freaking Philip over here. Like, what the fridge is going on? He looks like a freaking decaying hunchback. Like, I don't know, maybe the last time I've seen this character was probably in the Haunted Mansion or something like that. And then you got, like, Queen Elizabeth as well, where, like, I guess you could debate, like, well, she came out alright. She kind of looks like how she is in real life, but then again, like, she still looks as hunched over as freaking Philip, where, I don't know, it's like kind of a bit of a mix of the two. And then, like, you got Camilla, where she's also a bit of a transformation herself, where it looks like Camilla is slowly transforming into Camilla the Chicken, which is Gonzo's girlfriend in the Muppets. So, I don't know, it's like, yes, I get it, they're meant to be caricatures, but there are some that are just, yeesh, man, like, some of them have it rough. They really did. Okay, but I am aware this is just nitpicking. This is just dumb throwing shades, like just stupid commentary on the designs. I get it. They're just designs. They don't necessarily reflect upon the show itself. And one thing that I will say, at least for me, that would I be interested in watching this? Hell no. I only know just one group of audience that would be interested in this, and that is the people who are interested in royal family news. The kind of people that recently they actually are interested in the celebrity gossip of the royal family. The people who are highly interested in the life of people like William and Kate, or Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan, Charles and Camilla, or Philip and Elizabeth, and whomever. People who are really interested in that stuff. And honestly, regarding the fact that these people are always big news, I can guarantee you for a fact that regardless of the outcome, this could either be great or this could either turn out to be a piece of crap. But I got a really strong feeling that this is going to be a very successful show. Like, this is going to be one that's going to be a total hit for HBO Max because it is made for those people who are interested in the royal family. And there is a lot, especially with the fact that what is going to be a major driving force is the fact of how the royal family is highly relevant. And chances are they're never going to stop not being relevant, that they will still be taking over the news again and again, and people will be aware of what's going to be going on with the royal family, and they'll probably be highly interested in seeing how they're going to have a satirical take of that in the show like The Prince. And I could give you a great example, a great contrast to how this show is going to be very successful, because I can definitely see with what they are trying to do here, it is very similar to what has already been done with our cartoony president. Now, you guys may have your opinions on our cartoony president. I've heard a lot of mixed reactions. Some people say it's okay, and there are some people who hate it with a burning passion and say that it is absolutely terrible. Now, you may have your opinions on our cartoony presidents. You can say whatever you want. But one fact that you cannot deny is that it is a very, very successful show. Mainly because Donald Trump is highly relevant. And you never know how long he could be relevant. Like, he could still be president for the rest of 2020. He could be president for another 4 years. But the main driving force of what makes that show so successful, and even right now, even this year, we are actually going to see a season 3 of our cartoony president, is mainly because Donald Trump is still popular. For as long as Donald Trump remains relevant, then our cartoony president will remain relevant as well, and will remained as a very popular show. If you don't want our cartoony president anymore, if you want it to be canceled, then make sure at the end of 2020 to not make Donald Trump president, because if Donald Trump stays, then so will our cartoony president. I'm just saying. But there is one major advantage that the Prince would have instead of our cartoony president. As I stated before, Donald Trump's time as president is going to be limited. Rather it be just for 1 more year or maybe 4 more years until 2024. Like, there is a time limit for Donald Trump's time in office. With the royal family, however, like, we're talking about literally generations worth. This could be something that could go on for a while. And, like, who knows? Maybe we'll see the show be really popular for HBO Max. And, like, it could continue on for season after season, where we could also see the Prince, we'll see George in his teenagehood. And then suddenly the show will go in a different direction, where suddenly it'll become like another Big Mouth. Or maybe we will see like a crossover of the Prince and Big Mouth. Who knows? Like, if it could even last that long. But because of the fact that the royal family has always been relevant, the fact that they've always been making headlines, that's going to be a major driving force and a major reason why this show has a very high chance to be very successful. So in a way, I could definitely understand why HBO Max would definitely pick up something like The Prince, why that it sounds like it could be very popular, and why it might seem very appealing, especially the fact when they did get some very prominent stars as well. The fact that they actually got people like Tom Hollander, Alan Cumming, and even Orlando Bloom, out of all people. That's a name that I'm shocked to find voicing a character for a TV show. That really does say a lot that this show already has some very strong power. Now, regardless if the show is going to be good or not, rather if the show itself will have some great quality or if it's just going to be a piece of crap, I don't know. But chances are, I feel like because of the relevancy of the royal family, then this show could actually do very well on HBO Max. Now, we don't necessarily have a confirmed release date as of yet of when this show is actually going to be coming out. All we know so far is that this is also going to be a collaboration with 20th Century Fox TV. That's another thing that I forgot to mention. But for now, we know that this is going to be a thing. Maybe it's going to be this year. Maybe it's going to be next year. Who knows? But it is going to be a major thing that we will have to wait and see. And regardless if it's going to be popular or not, or if it's going to be good or not, we'll just see what happens. But I would definitely say that, yeah, I could definitely see this as the kind of show that people will definitely eat up as much as something like Our Cartoony President. So, with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to pass on to you to ask, what do you all think about The Prince? Is this a show that you guys would like to watch? Are you guys interested in this? Are you interested in the news related to the royal family? Do you think it's a great idea? Do you think it's not? Let me know what you all think. Let me see now. Is that it? It makes me wonder. It makes that wonder. HBO Max would greenlight this parody show about the actual British royal family only living in UK. Excuse me. That was the actual British version of Family Guy. It never gets old this time. Looking forward about the picture I'm staring. This character design looks awesome. These designs are a 10 out of 10 for me. Well, at least it does work for someone. Okay. Let's see now. Even as someone who doesn't care about monarchies, an animated series based on the royal family doesn't sound like a bad idea and could work with the right team. But the concept sounds weird. The art style looks kind of hideous, must be the norm for adult animated sitcoms, and the fact that it's based on an Instagram feed is just ridiculous. But I do have one positive thing to say. This may end up bad, but it won't be as bad as the Queen's Corgi. Yeah, that was a thing. Honestly, I'm glad that I didn't have to review that one because, oh god, you know, the funny thing about the Queen's Corgi is that I honestly felt like I was so close to reviewing it, but then at the end, I didn't have to because, like, at my local cinema, which is a big chain, like, I actually have a Cineplex next to me. Like, there was at one point that they were heavily promoting the Queen's Corgi, and I was dreading, like, ah, crap, I gotta go and frickin' review this. I gotta review a frickin' movie with Queen Elizabeth, and it has Donald Trump as a character. Oh, God, help me. Like, I was dreading it, but then it never happened. Like, there were no Cineplexes anywhere, or there was no place anywhere that would show the Queen's Corgi, funny enough. So I didn't have access to it, so I guess it just came and went. So luckily I didn't have to do it. Maybe I would have to for like AniMat's Classic Reviews or something, but for now I know I'm safe. Let's see here. I find this interesting how technically Disney is producing this series through 20th Century Fox Television, despite being competitors with Warner Media. Other than that, nobody cares. I heard news about the royal family in the US and I thought we fought against the British to avoid this. Monarchies are backlot, but don't worry, Matt. I plan on voting my first presidential election to whomever is against Trump. Well, you know, that's very nice of you to say at the end, but one thing that I definitely have to disagree with you is the comment you made of nobody cares. Believe me, dude, there are a lot of people who do care, especially outside of the UK. You have no idea how many, like, even if this is about the monarchy, there are many Americans, and especially Canadians, especially regarding the fact that Harry and Meghan are moving to Vancouver, that they would talk about this all the time. Like, really all the time. Okay. So, let's see right here. I have no interest in watching this show or anything else related to royal drama, although I did get a laugh at how spot on Prince Charles is in the depiction. So, well, at least, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Say what you will. The designs may be hideous, but they're not. Some of them are not wrong. So, except for William. Except for William, he looks like he's just gonna walk in going, "Hello, I'm Michael Eisner, and today we're going to be presenting you the royal family over here and talking about little Georgie here. This is going to be a show mainly about him." Okay. Let's see, who else do we got here? And also the comment regarding 20th Century Fox TV. I mean, technically, there have been a lot of outside companies that would collaborate on different streaming services. Like, even if it's not specifically theirs. Like, yes, technically 20th Century Fox TV is owned by Disney, but they do have the freedom to go and produce shows outside of places like Disney Plus that they could go into either like Hulu, Roku, what else is there, like HBO Max or Netflix or whatever. You know, like even Sony, despite not having a streaming service themselves and mainly connecting themselves with Netflix, they're actually doing some stuff with HBO Max, especially the Boondocks remake. They're actually going to be producing that with HBO Max. They're collaborating with Warner Brothers on that. So it's not necessarily that surprising to see 20th Century Fox TV onto a project like this for HBO Max. Let's see here. Crap. Here we go again. Besides our cartoony president, I know another satirical cartoon named Little Bush based on George W. Bush, and I have not heard good things about it. South Park pretty much covered the whole satirizing on real people's lives, so there's no need to make this one. And yet, they look ugly, even worse than Big Mouth. Looney Tunes and BoJack Horseman do satirize designs millions of times better. This is why I prefer to draw animals than humans. You can stylize animals any way you want. Well, that is an interesting take on it. And, you know, that is funny to mention that you would bring up South Park. Like, technically, they didn't have to do this. And, like, one point that could strengthen your argument is the fact that this is HBO Max. And I do believe HBO Max is the one that's going to be streaming all the South Park episodes. So I thought it would be an interesting thing to mention. Let's see. I remember when I went to saw The Secret Life of Pets 2, and my cinema was advertising the Queen's Corgi heavily. It was even one of the trailers, and it was like the only memorable part of the experience. Wow, that's kind of sad. Oh boy. I'll go and read one more thing. When can we expect a trailer from Mitch? Oh, okay, no, that's not a real comment. You know what? Oh, did I read you? Okay, no, I didn't. Okay, I'll read you, last before we jump on to our next story. I honestly thought that we reached the peak of ugliness in terms of animated character designs, but it seems that I was wrong. As for how the show will be, I imagine that it will be popular, but people will just hate it through the network. Will probably not care what people will think, because as long as it's popular, they won't hear any of the hate because the show makes money. I mean, you never know, man. You never know. It's just like, I mean, take a look at it, like, case in point, as I've stated, take a look at how our cartoony president is doing, and I'm sure you're going to see the same thing with the prince. Dang it, I spilled water on me. Yuck. I'll clean it. Oh, whatever, it'll dry up by the end. Anyways, let's go and jump onto our next story, and we're going to be talking about Netflix now, because they actually do have a few interesting things that's going to be coming in the future. Some things that people have already been aware of and probably have already seen. In fact, this is going to be something that I've already previously talked about in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast before, but never in English specifically. So with that said and done, let's go ahead and check out the trailer for Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, the English trailer that will be coming soon on Netflix. So let's go and check it out.
If somebody wants to battle, why not? Squirtle, you were great! Squirtle.
It's finally awakened.
The strongest Pokemon in existence.
Mewtwo, that is your name.
I will strike back against you.
You three have been acknowledged as up-and-coming trainers. The world's greatest Pokemon trainer invites you.
The greatest trainer in the world is across the sea. We've just gotta get over there! What is that?
We have given life to you, using the rarest of Pokémon as a basis.
If weak humans are allowed to govern, the world is headed for ruin. Which of you will oppose me first?
I'm not liking this at all.
You want to try? So, you do have some fight in you.
Piggle?
And that was the trailer for Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, the computer animated remake of the first Pokemon movie. And let me tell you, before I continue, I might as well give you guys a little bit of a refresher of a bit of my thoughts on Pokemon the first movie, considering that it does have, like, the Mewtwo Strikes Back story. And I will say that when I was a kid, yeah, I pretty much had the same feelings as most others, where, like, I was hyped up for the movie when it came out, and yes, I did have my big cry at the moment at the end when Ash was turned to stone and all the Pokemon were crying and stuff like that. But watching it now as an adult, like not just as an adult, but also more of a film buff and more aware of the kind of content that I would watch, honestly, this is one of those that didn't necessarily age that well, or that the nostalgia isn't as powerful as I thought, or at least in terms of this movie in particular, because I mean, there have been some pretty strong moments. The animation is actually pretty cool. It is definitely an upgrade compared to the show at the time, and especially where we do have some pretty epic fight scenes and some pretty epic Pokemon battles that we've been pretty hyped up about, especially meeting up with Mewtwo. And also, that's another great thing about the about the movie itself, is that Mewtwo is a surprisingly great and complex character, but other than that, it's not that strong of a movie. Like, the writing is a little bit weak, the story is very thinly plotted out, and a lot of times, like, they feel pretty corny. Like, there's a lot of pretty hammy and corny moments in there that's more cringe than it is charming, so you know, it's a bit of an iffy kind of film. It's just there have definitely been a lot of better Pokemon movies out there, like Pokemon the Movie 3 or Pokemon Lucario. I personally find them to be way better. You know, it's just with Mewtwo Strikes Back, it's just, it's But looking at this one in particular, honestly, I feel very mixed about it. I feel like I have some strong mixed emotions about what I'm seeing, because I can definitely see the pros, but then there are also the cons that are kind of like taking me away. It's like, it looks interesting, but it's just, I'm not 100% sure about this. Because, I'll say this, like, number one that I will point out that is actually pretty cool is actually regarding the voice acting. And I will say, like, a lot of the voice acting here is legit, especially the fact that it is coming from Mewtwo, and like whoever is voicing Mewtwo here, he has done a pretty solid job. Maybe, I think like this part we do hear his voice a little bit.
If weak humans are allowed to govern, the world is headed for ruin. Which of you will oppose me first?
You know, something like that. It's actually pretty. I'll get back to you later, Ash. You know, that's actually pretty solid. You know, I have to give kudos to that. I've heard some people state that it is Dan Green that's doing the voice, which it wouldn't necessarily surprise me. He's definitely one of the better 4Kids voice actors. But honestly, whoever's doing the voice of Mewtwo here, like, good job. And not just him, but also some of the other voice actors as well. Like, we do hear a little bit of Ash. We do hear a little bit of Meowth. That, like, so far the voice acting, I will say, is actually pretty good. That, and also, I gotta give kudos to the animation as well. Like, in terms of some parts of the animation, they actually are pretty solid to make a feature quality computer animation to bring these Pokemon to life. It may not necessarily be like Detective Pikachu level, but you know, they do actually look pretty strong. Like, this is something that's more in the levels of, like, somewhere that's between Detective Pikachu and the Pokemon games that we do have right now, like Pokemon Sword and Shield. And it does promise us that we are going to have, like, those same epic battles that we've had before in the first Pokemon movie, that we are going to have those epic battles in 3D now of, like, Mewtwo versus Mew, or, like, the clone Pokemon versus the OG Pokemon. So that's going to be pretty exciting to go and check out. So in terms of that animation, and you can definitely see that there is a lot more effects, there's a lot more detail, and considering that it is Pokemon and that it is a lot more action-oriented, I can definitely see that this is going to be the kind of movie where it will definitely take advantage of the effects, and you can definitely tell that they are also taking advantage of, like, the backgrounds as well. Like, there's a lot of places that really do look nice, like, regardless if it's, like, in the fields, or if it's, like, in Mewtwo's, in his own lair, it actually does look pretty epic. Or, like, even in the ancient ruins of Mew, like, a lot of these areas actually do look beautiful. So, like, especially, like, going back over here, like, yeah, inside Mewtwo's realm, like, it does look pretty nice. So the transition of going from hand-drawn before to computer animation, so far, a lot of it is actually very solid. But there is a little catch to it. As much as I would like to say that the computer animation is great, and I can definitely tell that there is a lot of very talented people who are working on it to bring this movie to life, and they have done a great job bringing the Pokemon to CG, and a lot of them do look great. Except for the humans. And I just need, like, a good example. Yeah, okay. Let's talk about some of the human characters, especially people like Ash. Now, I can definitely see what they are trying to do with the computer animation. They want to make things more detailed. They want to add more textures. You know, they want to add a bit more realism that they previously couldn't do with hand-drawn, especially back in the days when the animation of the Pokemon anime was a lot more simple than how it is right now. And with the designs that they are presenting with the characters, like with Ash, Misty, Brock, and even with the Team Rocket people like Jesse James, and even promising the return of, like, Giovanni and a few other people as well, and even the possessed Nurse Joy, it's just, I get what you're trying to do, but this design really does not work well in computer animation. Now, this is not to say that the Pokemon design does not translate well in CG. Oh, excuse me. This is not to say that this design does not work in computer animation. It most certainly can. I've already brought up the examples of the video games, especially with what we got recently with Pokemon Sword and Shield. The graphics in there are just fantastic, and even the human characters, they actually do look great. Rather it be characters like Leon, Sonia, Hop, or whomever. Like, at least the designs, you know, they do work well in CG in terms of the games in there. But the games don't go forcibly try to add as much details and textures as possible, as much as something like this. Because I will give them credit. They do try to stay true to the original designs of the original Pokemon anime when it all began. Like, this is Ash's classic gear, like with the blue, you know, like with the blue shirt, you know, the signature hat, and even like the design and stuff like that. It's all classic, but there are still a lot of elements that just don't necessarily work. And like, they even go down to the little detail of having the little lightning bolts on his cheek. But it's just that they try to add a bit too much detail, and it really goes into the uncanny valley. I think that's the best way to put it, is that it really goes into the uncanny valley, where like they try to add details onto the pupils. They try to give Ash like a lot of realistic texture on the hair, and especially like I think the one thing that kind of creeps me out the most is the teeth. The teeth is the thing that really does throw me off with the way that it's just detailed, and the way that, like, more than ever, they really display Ash's chompers, where it kind of makes it feel a lot more threatening. And I try to find, like, what would be a great comparison? Like, what's this feeling that I'm feeling right now from seeing Ash like this, or, like, many of the other characters, or, hold on, where's a better example? Yeah, like, something like this. Like, what's the feeling that I have seeing, like, Ash, Misty, and Brock having more details onto their designs? And also, like, and also just something that I have noticed, like, even, like, with the addition of lips and stuff like that, it's just, you know what it does make me think of? Okay, you know what this is? Do you ever go on YouTube and you look up those Photoshop YouTubers? You know the ones that I'm talking about, the ones that would take random cartoon characters, rather it be like Steven from Steven Universe, or Fred Flintstone, or Bugs Bunny, or Shrek, or freaking SpongeBob, or anything like that. Like, they would take these characters and they would try to add realistic human flesh textures onto them. Like, I got one over here, and just be warned, some of you might be traumatized if you are watching this. You know, something like this. You know, like, the one that I'm showing here, this is from the YouTuber Robson Lammy, and I'm showing his Photoshop version of Squidward tentacles in real life from SpongeBob, where he tries to add in all the human textures and realistic proportion, the realistic elements of the human face or the human head. And they would try to put that onto Squidward, where, like, technically, like, it's Squidward's nose, it's Squidward's mouth, it's Squidward's eyes, but everything else, it's, like, it's fully human. Like, you see, in his video, like, he would try to go and, he would try to take real things. Like, he would take a real nose, just to back it up a little bit. Actually, here, let me go and refresh this to give you a little example. Alright, there we go. Ah, fudge nabbit, there's just an ad. There, let's skip the ad first. Yes, I don't care about Adobe Shock. There we go. Like, just over here, like you'll see they'll try to add in the addition. Yeah, like, you'll see the person tries to make a nose. Like, they'll take a real nose, extend it, try to put it in the Squidward proportions, make sure everything all fits, and there you go. You got a Squidward nose in there. And it just it would get worse and worse to the point of just looking like this kind of monstrosity. Like, what would Squidward look like in real life? But the point that I am trying to make here is that This is how I feel when I see the human characters in Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution. Is that they're trying to put realistic human elements onto the characters, like real detailed pupils, real hair, real eyelashes, you know, try to put real things onto the characters, but it just looks wrong. It just looks weird. It looks awkward. It looks uncanny. And that's the one problem with the animation that I have with it. And you know, the thing is, we are at the point that with Ash, they can be a lot more free to do whatever they want with the design of the character, because in recent years, especially with the animes of Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield, they have updated Ash's design a little bit more. So they would be a little, you know, this would be more acceptable if they could do something like this onto, you know, it would be fine if they would do something like this for CGI, you know, try to, you know, manipulate it a little bit to make it look more appealing for computer animation. But for now, like, I'm guessing they're just focusing so much more on the throwback element, you know, on the nostalgia factor, but it's just some of it doesn't work. So I'm not like, keep in mind, I'm not saying that the computer animation here is bad. There's a lot of great things about it, but it's just there are some elements that also kind of make it look pretty bad as well. So overall, with this, I have some very mixed feelings, because on one hand, the computer animation itself is very nice, it looks strong, and it looks like it can enhance the good things about Pokemon the first movie. But then again, it's a computer animated remake of Pokemon the first movie. The story isn't necessarily all that strong, and especially the updated look on the characters, it's just, they look really off, and I'm just, I don't know, I'm not sure. And also, one more positive thing to note is also, like, the voice acting so far. A lot of it really sounds legit, especially Mewtwo's. Apparently, this is actually going to be coming soon on Netflix. I believe, yes, it states here on the YouTube channel that it is going to be coming out on February 27th, 2020. Now, I know this is not necessarily the first time that a Pokemon movie is trying to capture a lot of the nostalgia feeling. I know that they have done so before with Pokemon I Choose You, the movie. But I guess for Americans, if you want to see the dubbed version of Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, then this could be for you. Okay, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and now it is time that I would like to ask, what do you all think about Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution? Now, is this something that you guys would want to watch on Netflix? Are you interested in seeing it? Are you excited for this? Are you a little more iffy? Let me know what you all think now. Okay, so, what do we got here? Even though I am a huge Pokemon fan, this does nothing for me. I get this technically came out in Japan around the same time as The Lion King 2019. It looks like it might share the same problems, where the only big difference is it's CGI. I don't want to waste my time if I could just watch Pokemon the first movie on DVD and get what could be the same thing. Yeah, I could definitely imagine that this argument could be brought up, where it's going to be a little bit like the Lion King remake, and essentially that is also another problem, is the fact that so far what they are showing us is basically the exact same thing. There is very little difference, at least narratively, with what we are seeing here and what they have already given us with Pokemon the first movie. Now, will the CGI actually help things out with it? I honestly don't know, and I don't know, like, especially with that, it's that, I'm sure when it comes to many fans, they will actually go and ask, what's the point of seeing this when I can just go and watch Pokemon the first movie, and I would get the same thing, but with hand-drawn animation. So you do bring up a very good point there. Let's see now. Pokemon the first movie is one of my childhood movies, so I might have a bit of a bias for it, but I am interested in it. Also, the moment when you began talking about why you didn't like the human designs, I instantly thought about the original design for Sonic in the Sonic movie. Okay, no. I will give this credit, it's not that bad. It ain't like the freaking, meow Sonic? It's not that terrible. It's just this one has a bit of an uncanny valley, where the Sonic the Hedgehog one, that thing is a stuff of nightmares. It wasn't going for the original design at all. It was going for some kind of weird monstrosity. Okay, anyways, going back here. Let's see. Man, that was tight. I'm not a big Pokemon fan, but I am impressed with the trailer. The 3D animation is absolutely fantastic, but I feel like they might copy the first Pokemon movie foot by foot. Also, that Mewtwo voice. God, I love that voice so much. Also, to loosely quote Patrick about the human design, "Look at it! Look at it! I want you to look at it!" I don't want to look at it, though. Here, let me just... Here, let me go and make things better, especially Misty. I don't know about you guys, but it's like, especially Misty, she looks so soulless when checking out the greeting card from the possessed Nurse Joy. It's just, I don't know, here, I'll put up this, like, something a little more epic, this little thing of Mewtwo, like in the rubbles, like in the fire, like this epic little pose there, much better. That's definitely going to be a lot more pleasing for the eyes. Okay, let's see now, what else do we got here? Let's see, do we have any other, okay. I'm definitely mixed. The voice acting is pretty good, and the Pokemon look good, but the human characters definitely look weird, but at least it's not original Sonic design or Cat's level of awful. Let's see. I thought the original Mewtwo Strikes Back movie was fine. Not the best Pokemon movie, but I'd rather watch the movie 3 for various reasons. The remake is weird. The Pokemon designs and textures look great, but humans, I agree what you said, cause oof, I don't think I want to watch this movie. I'll stick to the original movie. Alright, that's fair. Let's see. I think this is going to be a really good movie. I know it's only 80% like the original, which references the TV show replaced with references to Pikachu I Choose You and Pokemon The Power of Us, but it still looks very nice. The animation reminds me of DreamWorks' Madagascar. Madagascar? I'm not denying, I'm not saying anything bad, but honestly, that is one comparison I did not expect. Honestly, I didn't think about Madagascar, honestly, but hey, if it works for you, then, you know, good on you. Go for it, man. Alright, so let's see, what else do we got here? The animation doesn't look that bad. I've certainly seen worse. I'm not really a Pokemon fan, although I did thoroughly enjoy Detective Pikachu, but I might give it a watch if I have time to kill and need something to fit in. Also, is it me or does Misty look a little fish-like? Well, I mean, to be fair, she is a water-type gym leader, so I guess there is a reason why. Alright, I'll go and read one more comment before we're going to jump on to our next story. Let's see here. Pokemon, oh wait, I think I already read that one. Yeah, I did read that one, sorry about that. I was a little skeptical, but this actually looks kind of okay. It doesn't scream shot-by-shot remake at times, but the animation looks gorgeous, and after my viewing of Detective Pikachu, I have faith in Pokemon movies restored. I'll likely check it out as long as both Pikachu and Porygon stay away from those damn vaccine missiles. Yeah, there ain't no Porygon in this movie. Oh god, imagine a CG remake of that episode in particular. Yeah, because I'm sure Japanese children would like to have their seizures in 3D now. I apologize if that's a terrible joke. I do take it back. Yeah, I understand it is very much of poor taste, so I do apologize. We'll go and move on to our next story now. Okay, so we're gonna be sticking to a little bit of a similar theme for our next story because we're still sticking around with Netflix, and apparently this week Netflix really has a lot more Japanese stuff than ever, because not only did they have a major franchise with Pokemon under their wing now, but also another major thing that they got was Studio Ghibli, and this is a major deal for them. Yes, it has been announced that Netflix has managed to get the international streaming rights to all the Studio Ghibli films. And this is a major collaboration between Netflix, Wild Bunch, and Studio Ghibli, where now they can go and release internationally the Studio Ghibli films on their streaming services of all the 21 movies that they've made, from Nausicaa, The Valley of the Wind, all the way down to When Marnie Was There. The only major catch, however, is that it is only going to be worldwide, except for North America, which is the United States and Canada, and in Japan, because, well, they already have stuff going on there. Japan, they kind of have their own thing with Studio Ghibli. They're already highly prominent there. And because of US and Canada, they already have a deal with HBO Max. So if you want Studio Ghibli films on your streaming service, you cannot get that on Netflix. You would only get that on HBO Max. And they are actually going to be getting this very soon, actually. It's going to be sometime in February that they have announced this. Or, they revealed that it will be released in February. So, it does actually state here, I do have some quotes to read. First of all, coming from one of the founders of Studio Ghibli and a prominent producer, Toshio Suzuki, as this states, "In this day and age, there are various great ways a film can reach audiences. We've listened to our fans and have made the definitive decision to stream our film catalog. We hope people around the world will discover the world of Studio Ghibli through this experience." We also got another quote coming from from Aram Yakubian, the director of original content, a director of original animation at Netflix, as it states here. "This is a dream come true for Netflix and millions of our members. Studio Ghibli's animated films are legendary and have enthralled fans around the world for over 35 years. We're excited to make them available in more languages across Latin America, Europe, Africa, and Asia, so that more people can enjoy this whimsical and wonderful world of animation." So that's pretty much the big thing that is going on here, is the fact that all around the world, except for Canada, America, and in Japan, it would be available on Netflix. And, oh boy, are there plenty of people jealous of many others around the world, because I gotta say, in this regard, Netflix has a far greater deal than HBO Max. And number one, of course, is mainly because of the fact of the release, because the rest of the world, they're actually going to get that very, very soon. They stated that it's going to be coming in February, that they are going to see the Studio Ghibli films. Oh, and one more thing I almost forgot to mention is regarding the language. Considering that it is from all different continents and all different countries, what they are going to do is that they're just going to keep things simple, and it is actually going to be in Japanese subbed. So all the versions of it will be in Japanese, but it will be subtitled in their respective language of where they are streaming. So with that said, going back to what I was talking about, yes, Netflix does have an advantage over HBO Max because with the Studio Ghibli films, because they are going to be coming out in February, so people are going to have that very, very soon. Whereas HBO Max, that streaming service is not even out yet. Like, that streaming service is going to be coming out sometime in May, I believe. That's when they announced that's when the streaming service will be coming out with all the Studio Ghibli films. And I'm not 100% sure if they have confirmed if it's just going to be the English dub, or if we would also have the option of have it be Japanese subbed. I don't know. I didn't fully research it. If you do know what the case would be on that, you can tell me. You can go and correct me, like in the chat wall or in the comments. You can go and tell me that on there. But there is also another massive advantage of the fact that it's Netflix that has them more so than HBO Max. It's the fact that it's Netflix. Right now, they are the top streaming service. Like, technically, the streaming wars has already begun, and we already have a few people in the race, like Disney Plus and Amazon Prime and stuff like that. But so far, Netflix is still the mighty king. They are still the ones that are the most prominent in terms of streaming services. They already have over millions of people who do have Netflix as a streaming service. So they already got so many people that are watching Netflix, that are using the service. So immediately people would have access right there. Whereas HBO Max, on the other hand, as I've stated before, it's not out yet. Not many people have HBO Max, and we're not 100% sure if they actually would go and, if it would, and we don't know if it's going to be, like, really successful off the bat, or if it's going to be successful in the long run. That's going to be a massive gamble. Worst case scenario, if things don't work out with HBO Max, then they could just easily go and transfer that onto Netflix, and it would be a major win for Netflix. The fact that they already secured the rights for Studio Ghibli internationally, they're one step ahead, like, to have, like, the full complete set. We'll just have to wait and see with how HBO Max would do with their streaming service. Which, again, I have stated before, I could definitely imagine that the outcome would be that at first it's going to be successful, but in the long run, in like 2 or 3 years, that is going to be something we will have to wait and see. But in regards to this, I think, honestly, man, I don't know why I'm in a coughing fit, but anyways, one thing that I do have to say about this, and what is actually very great, especially in regards to Studio Ghibli, is that regarding the fact that it is on a streaming service, it makes it so much more easy to go and have access to these movies. Because let's be honest, when it comes to the Studio Ghibli films, they are pretty hard to find. They're not easy to go and look for, and especially, they are not cheap either. I know that G-Kids nowadays, like, they are trying a little, but it's not necessarily the easiest way or the cheapest way either, especially when their Blu-rays and DVDs, even though they are of great quality, they are at a hefty price as well. That, and also, even though from time to time they would release some of the movies in theaters, they are very limited release. Like, you would be lucky if you would catch a Studio Ghibli film on the big screen that is presented by G-Kids. Like, you gotta go and really organize that thing and be there on that day. So, it can often be a bit of a tricky thing to go and immediately catch. But in regards to the streaming services, now it's gonna be a whole lot easier. Now, a lot of people who don't necessarily can afford all the different Studio Ghibli films, either on DVD or Blu-ray and stuff like that, or would have a hard time to have access to them, now they have a way. Now, like especially with the fact that it is coming on Netflix, I feel like it is such a major blessing. And I feel like it's probably one of the best moves that Studio Ghibli has done in recent years. If they want to continue the legacy of Studio Ghibli, if they want to continue moving forward, then this is what they gotta do. They gotta, like, if they want to go big, they really have to go big. They gotta go with, like, the leading competitors of streaming services and immediately just start off with Netflix. I think this is a great thing. Now, I know beforehand, like, they used to be very strict about it. Like, beforehand, the answer was just flat out no. Like, they refused putting any of their content onto streaming services. But now the fact that they have decided to adapt to the modern age, the fact that they decided that maybe they should update how they would continue their strategies, especially nowadays when Studio Ghibli is definitely taking a major break from releasing feature films. Like, they got a few down the line right now, but for now, like, they are, like, a bit on the low run, especially when the last animated film that they have released was, like, 5 years ago now with When Marnie Was There. Like, even at that, the thing with this is that it's honestly a great way to adapt to the modern times and to help and just like what Toshio Suzuki said here, I think it's a beautiful way to introduce audiences to introduce them to Studio Ghibli. For me, like, this doesn't necessarily care, like, I don't necessarily care about this news. One, mainly because I'm in Canada, so I wouldn't get them on Netflix. And two, it's because I already have all the movies on Blu-ray and DVD, so I'm pretty much all covered with that. But when it comes to this, though, I think this is great news. Like, this is beautiful news for everyone else. This is great for everyone who wants to have access to the Studio Ghibli films, to the people who want to see for themselves what the big hype is about regarding movies like Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, Howl's Moving Castle, Tale of the Princess Kaguya, and all those feature films. Like, if you want to know what the hype is, at least now you do have a chance to see it for yourself. And the fact that all the people all around the world can finally get a chance to go check it out on Netflix, I think it's an absolutely beautiful thing. So, with that said, though, even though there isn't necessarily a whole lot to comment about, I would like to know, what do you all think about Studio Ghibli releasing their films internationally onto Netflix? If you're someone who is not from Japan, the US, or Canada, let me know what you think, especially if you're going to be planning to be binging the Studio Ghibli films onto Netflix, or if you even have Netflix in the first place. Let's see now. No, hold on, I need a bit of a drink. Oh, wow. A lot of people, and immediately with this news, I see that people are upset about HBO Max. Like, right now, they're like, I don't want freaking HBO Max. What the hell is this? Like, already people are just, like, people are immediately angry with it now. The streaming service isn't out yet, and already backlash has begun. Alright, anyways, going back to the chat wall, it says here, I'm actually kind of angry that the US and Canada don't get this benefit. Come on, Netflix. Everyone wants a taste of Ghibli right now, but okay. Okay, hold on. I gotta stop you right there. This is not Netflix's fault. They cannot have the US and Canada rights, mainly because someone else got it. Blame, like, if you really want to be angry, like, in this case, it is HBO Max. Okay, so let's see here. Finally, my chance to see Studio Ghibli in English. Well, actually, no, you're not going to see it in English. You're just going to see it Japanese subbed. Like, it even did mention in here. Let's see. In my country, Malaysia, they only release the films in Japanese. I did try watching something Japanese once, and that was Transformers Galaxy Force, aka Japanese Transformers Cybertron. This put off my parents, and they told me off. They told me off for watching it, worried that I might mock their language, and I have a habit of mimicking quotes from TV shows and films. Another reason why I see this in English is because Pom Poko has something dirty in Japanese. Well, just like I said, no, it's not going to be in English. You're just going to have it Japanese dubbed. That's going to be for everyone on Netflix. So, let's see here. As someone who's seen a good chunk of Studio Ghibli's works, it kind of sucks that the US won't be getting the catalog. I know this is because of HBO Max, but until then, I'll likely be sticking to my DVD copy of Ponyo, since, well, it's the only one I could really watch since I don't have the others. But until we see the day, I just remember these important words. Ham! Ham! I want ham! Funny enough, I did have a ham and cheese crepe sandwich today, so I know the feeling of the craving for ham. Alright, so anyways, I guess I'll pay for a VPN so I can access the UK's Netflix so I can watch this. I should buy a new shelf for Studio Ghibli Blu-rays so I don't have to deal with this BS. We don't need this many services. Who complain about paying only Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu? I don't want HBO Max, but let's cross fingers that G-Kids teams up with a studio like Sony or Warner Brothers to give Miyazaki's next movie a more wide release, even though it won't happen. You would be surprised. The thing is, and it won't be from either Sony or Warner Brothers, because I will say, when it comes to G-Kids, I believe they are an affiliate with Universal. And honestly, I think they would. For Miyazaki's comeback, they definitely would put it onto the mainstream. Like Universal would go and actually release Hayao Miyazaki's next movie. That's what I am predicting. I could be wrong, but I think that's going to be what's going to happen. All right, I'll go and oh wait, hold on a sec. Hope we see more English dub anime someday. Well, not with this one. Let's see. Finally, I'm so excited and relieved that I don't have to order all the films on Blu-ray. Finally, you get to save money. And, well, you know, it's interesting to see some mixed reactions, but, you know, at least there are some people who are happy. And now it is time that we are going to finish this off with the grand finale. And this was a last-minute edition. This was actually something that was just announced yesterday. And it was such a bombshell of a news. It was something that I must include in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. The kind of news that, oh yeah, this has to be something that I have to talk about. If it weren't for the passing of Terry Jones, this would have definitely been like a top story headline news worth discussing. In fact, I think I could be doing this one for the highlight video on the YouTube channel. But with that said, I'm sure that for many, this is going to be a story that some might find to be a nightmare come true. Because some people might think that it would be too stupid for Disney to do something like this. And yet, here we are now, folks. They are actually going to do a live-action remake of Bambi. Yes, the same 1942 animated classic is going to be the next subject that Disney is going to turn into a live-action remake. Or I should say that more in quotes, like a live-action remake. So far, what is happening is that Disney has hired 2 writers for this, 2 female writers, very prominent too, where they have actually hired Geneva Robertson Dworet of Captain Marvel and Tomb Raider, and Lindsay Beer of Sierra Burgess is a Loser and Chaos Walking to go and write the screenplay. They also have a few producers that are also attached to it as well, from the same people that did bring out the highly praised The Farewell, Depth of Field, which is the production banner run by Chris and Paul Waits and Andrew Miano. So they are going to be involved producing this feature as well. Woo, excuse me. Oh boy. Now, I'm sure the big question that some of you might be wondering is, why? Why would they do this? Why would they go as far as make a live-action remake of Bambi? Why would they do this one? Why Bambi out of all the movies? Well, to go and read a little bit from my source here on The Hollywood Reporter, it states that insiders say the studio views Bambi as a type of companion piece to its remakes of The Jungle Book and The Lion King, which were not live action per se, but certainly made to look that way. The two, both hits, especially Lion King, generated $1.65 billion where it was released last year, were made using envelope-pushing CGI technology to create groundbreaking, photorealistic, and immersive worlds of nature. The studio is conscious that Bambi is less epic in scope and story and is not aiming to shoehorn a larger narrative onto the classic tale. So for now, oh, and also just a quick side note, it is also stated here, just a little extra piece of Disney live-action remake news, that Depth of Field is already working on a Disney live-action remake, as it is in active development on Pinocchio, which has Robert Zemeckis directing, which I also believe he is also going to be a writer for that as well. But the main thing that has been announced is that, yes, they are going to make Bambi, and they're going to do it in the same way as The Lion King and a bit of The Jungle Book, but mainly to do it the same way as The Lion King. Really? Bambi! Out of all these films, you're gonna go with Bambi as a new remake from Disney. Really? You know, it did make me think a little bit. Remember back in the days when, like, this trend was just beginning and, like, Disney was really was starting to profit off of it, you know, with stuff like Maleficent and Beauty and the Beast and The Jungle Book and stuff? Remember when that was just beginning and people were already making fun of Disney of the stupid ideas of what they could do as a live-action remake? And the most common one that people would often point out is Bambi. That they would always say Bambi would be the real stupid one to go and make a live-action remake. Like, wouldn't it be dumb to see that? Like, I think they already made that as a bit on Saturday Night Live where they had Dwayne Johnson playing as Bambi. Remember when that was just a joke? Well, Disney decided they're going to take it seriously now, and they're going to go and do it with Bambi. Freaking Bambi, out of all things. The movie, which doesn't really have much of a story, and yet they're just going for it anyways. Oh boy. Like, okay, I get it that you want to try to capitalize on the technology. This isn't necessarily capitalizing on the live-action remake trend, but rather to go and capitalize on the technology that you have produced, because it is true that it has given them massive success with movies such as The Jungle Book and The Lion King, and it even gave an Oscar for The Jungle Book, and also right now The Lion King remake is in competition to possibly win. It already has an Oscar nomination. So I can definitely imagine the ways that they want to try to capitalize that as well, to produce some amazing, groundbreaking CGI, but instead of going into the jungle, instead of going into either Africa or the jungles of India, now they want to go into a forest and portray some woodland creatures like deer and a bunny and a skunk and an owl, you know, try to, to really make it about the forest, to really present that. So I get the technological achievements that you want to try to do. But then again, it's freaking Bambi, man! It's freaking Bambi! Have they not learned their lesson about how this could potentially fail? Because here's the thing. The fact that it is Bambi, and the fact that it doesn't have that much of a plot, I don't know how that is really going to resolve with modern audiences. Because the thing is, the reason why The Lion King really is massively popular is the fact that there's a lot of nostalgia that they could really capitalize on. There are millions of people around the world that have grown up with The Lion King, and that was a key factor into the major success, to relive the magic all over again, but in a more realistic style. With Bambi, I am not saying that there is no nostalgia factor for the movie, but it definitely is an old feature film. We have passed way past its time of when the movie was massively fresh, was massively popular, was massively new and stuff like that. Like with The Lion King, like some people can look back in the days of when that movie was massively popular, when it was like fresh and new and it was big and it was original. Like nowadays, Bambi is about 80 years old. So there isn't as much people that can connect with Bambi as much as something like The Lion King. And even at that, one thing I would like to add is that, yes, the technology, I can imagine it's going to be massively groundbreaking, but it can only take you so far. And again, with Bambi, oh my god, I just realized something. There is a major piece of irony with this. Like, I just had a major flashback of what I talked about before in Animation Look Back. Because if you have seen it, if you have known about the history of Bambi, you know what the irony of it is that originally, the main plan was to make Bambi a live-action movie. There was this director at MGM. He really tried so hard to buy the rights of the original book and to turn that into a live-action movie. But then he realized that doing so would be impossible. And in order to do that properly, would be with Disney's animation. So that's why he sold the rights to Walt, and Walt tried for many years to develop it into an animated feature, which became the masterpiece that we know today. Now, I know technically, with the technology that we have now, like, we could do animals, do whatever we want with them. But the thing is that with this technology, it kind of like, you know, you can only do so much with it. Like, if you're just going to be really pushing for the realism aspect, then you're going to fall into the exact same problems that The Lion King had, and why there is so much backlash against that film in a creative sense. Because because the thing is, like, now we are going to see what the original vision of Bambi is going to look like, and once again, we are going to see why is it Bambi is meant so much more as an animated cartoon, more so than it is something meant to be realistic. Because the greatest example that I can give is possibly the most famous scene from the movie. Bambi's mom getting shot. Imagine how the deers are going to be so realistic, how the animals are going to be depicted to look so real, you know, to make it look so lifelike as the real animal counterparts. How the fridge do you think Bambi is going to react to his mother's death? It's like, you're going to see, you know, the great prince come in and say, you cannot see your mother anymore. And Bambi is just going to be staring at him like, oh, okay. Oh, well. Alright, I'm gonna walk in the snow now. It's like, you're not gonna see much expressions on it. Remember when Mufasa died? Remember the emotions that we've seen in Simba? You know, when his heart completely broke seeing that his dad is dead? Not really, we didn't see much of it. So it's gotta be the same thing. You want to try to achieve realism, but it doesn't necessarily work, because this is the kind of thing where the characters need to be humanly expressive. Like, we need to see those emotions. We need to read those emotions. Not everyone is an animal expert. So, I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe there is a possibility Disney could learn their lesson, and maybe they'll try to make the animals look a bit more expressive than they were in The Lion King. Maybe they would do that, but I don't know. So far, just the main idea of it just doesn't seem that good. And also, the one thing that I gotta say, what feels massively stupid about this idea of making Bambi another live-action remake, it's the fact that they've clearly not learned their lesson from last year. Because I know that we've all just focused on the billion-dollar hits that Disney has done. In fact, in 2019, I believe they've done like 7 in total. Like, they got Captain Marvel, they got Avengers Endgame, they got Toy Story 4, they got Frozen 2, they got Lion King, they got Aladdin, and they got Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. But let's not forget that they also have their own flops as well. There are a few movies that did lose money at the box office, or it pretty much sucked at the box office in general. And probably the greatest example of it is Dumbo, the 2019 remake of Dumbo. And a big reason why that movie failed, it's mainly because that movie was a little too old. That's another feature film that's almost 80 years old, and not many people are necessarily attached to that property more so than something like Aladdin or The Lion King and stuff like that. So that's why the movie bombed, and especially with the way that they're trying to translate it onto live action, the way that they try to modernize it and stuff like that, it just doesn't necessarily work. You don't have that much people attached to it as much as like some of the Disney Renaissance films. And that is the problem that I do see here. Like, honestly, it's hard for me to imagine that Disney is going to pursue this And it's like, it's hard to not imagine that this could go in a massive downhill. Now, I could be proven wrong, and Disney could actually find a way to make this successful, and could actually make this, like, highly praised as well. Like, maybe Geneva and Lindsay will find a way to make this unique, to make this highly praised, to make this stand out among all the other Disney live-action remakes in the veins of the Jungle Book. Hopefully they won't do like another shot-for-shot remake, because honestly, not only I could see this fail creatively, but also I could definitely see this fail financially as well. This is not going to be a big box office hit that Disney is hoping for in the veins of The Lion King or The Jungle Book. So honestly, I really do feel like something that Disney needs to be extremely careful, they need to be extremely careful with, because even right now, it is causing serious backlash with the fact that not only are they taking one of their older properties, but they are really taking, like, this is cinema history. This isn't just Disney history. This is full-on cinema history. This is something that people look back to and consider it one of the greatest and one of the most important animated features of all time. So messing with something like Bambi is a massive risk. And unfortunately, in the current position that I'm in, it's hard for me to imagine to see this succeed. I feel like there's more of a stronger chance that it could fail than it could actually work. Now, keep in mind, I could be wrong, because this is something that's literally just announced. So you never know what's going to happen in the future. Maybe things can work out, or maybe this will never exist. Maybe this is just an idea that they will try out, and this could eventually get canceled because they don't know the proper way of doing it. But for now, it's just, oh my god, I don't know. I just don't know. Watching this film is just, oh god, just what, a Bambi remake. A Bambi remake with real animals. Where the characters are key in this. And like, even like, what, are you gonna get celebrity, like, you can't even get much celebrity voices. Like, even at that, their roles are gonna be quite minimal as well, because the main voices are just gonna be kids. Like, you're just gonna get kid actors that not many people have heard of, and that's it. So you can't really advertise this because of the fact that you got big name voices like you did with Lion King, that, yo, check it out. We got Donald Glover, we got Beyonce, we got Chiwetel Ejiofor. You know, you can't really do that. Like, even at that, you can get big celebrities, but they're gonna have very little roles. Like, yeah, you're like, if you're gonna do like what you did with Bambi 2, and you're gonna bring back Patrick Stewart to play the role of the Great Prince, he's not gonna be there all that much. Yeah, it's gonna be a pretty epic moment to see him reprise his role in a movie that I have to admit is actually not that bad, surprisingly. Even at that, it's just, his role is going to be very minimal. The one who would take the most advantage is just going to be the one who's going to play Friend Owl. Like, that's it. So, I don't know. Like, looking at all this, it's just, I find it to be such a ridiculous idea that they have to do it. Like, this really is trying to capitalize, not just on the Disney live-action remake aspect, but also because on the technology aspect. And I mean, yeah, like, Jungle Book did get lucky. I mean, that is technically another feature film that Walt Disney himself personally worked on, but I don't know if they could capture the same magic with Bambi. It's just, I don't know how they're going to do this. I really don't. It's just, for now, I feel like it baffles my mind that Disney is legitimately taking a joke seriously. That I think that's the craziest thing, is that they really went into the deep end, and now they actually would go and try to remake Bambi. Like, they really are going after a lot of their classics now. Like, you know, it's hard to imagine what they're not going to do. Like, honestly, like, what, like, well, I can't really say, you know, I was about to say, like, what are you going to do with Fantasia? But then again, we already got Nutcracker in the Four Realms. We already got The Sorcerer's Apprentice with Nicolas Cage and Jay Baruchel. I don't know what's next. I know there are a lot of people that are asking, oh, like, oh, maybe we need to do a remake of, like, Atlantis or The Black Cauldron. And at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they're at the point that they have to. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to do it. Or you know what? You know, if this continues, it would not surprise me at all that they're going to keep on doing stuff like this. And eventually, they'll try to do like Robin Hood. Like, they'll try to do a live-action remake of Robin Hood, but they'll try to do it with anthropomorphic animals. That would not surprise me at all. At this rate, I mean, like, they're going with Bambi, so we don't really have much limits anymore. So who the fridge knows? Who knows, man? It's just, I don't know. For now, I'm not excited to see this. I'm dreading the possible outcome of what this is going to do for the company. Like, maybe it could turn out well, but I highly doubt it. So with that said, let me go into the chat wall right now. Let me ask, what do you all think about the announcement of a Bambi remake? That this is going to be real? Let me know what you think. I don't know what the fridge else to say. Just put out your thoughts. I'm sure you have plenty. So let me just know what you think. Let's see. There is no way the Bambi remake is going to be a success critically or financially. It's going to be Disney's biggest bomb due to how much is going against it. Exactly. And that's the thing that really does worry me, is the fact that these types of movies are not going to be cheap. Like, I can imagine, like, it's gonna be like with the Jungle Book or the Lion King remake. Like, the budget of this is going to be much higher than $200 million. Especially with the fact that the cost of this is just gonna be way too much. It's gonna be ridiculous how much it's going to be made. And Disney is going to be losing a good chunk of it if they are not careful. Alright, let's see now. As if Disney hasn't done finishing pissing me and the rest of Disney fans off, Disney decided to go ahead and make a live-action remake of Bambi that nobody wants, including making the animals once again emotionless like the Lion King. Seriously, why would you pick Bambi out of all the animated films you picked out? I'm already fed up with their live-action remakes, but Bambi, come the hell on. Not siding with Disney's decision whatsoever on this one. Oh boy. We are going to see some angry comments over here. Il va avoir des personnes ici qui vont être fâchées. Let's see now. I'd much prefer a remake of Disney's film that can benefit from a redoing, like Pocahontas, or to an extent, a Goofy movie. You don't want a live-action remake of a Goofy movie. Don't suggest a live-action remake of a Goofy movie. Anyways. But I could see a way how a Bambi remake could potentially work. Bring aboard Animal Logic for the animation. Say what you will about Peter Rabbit, I for one find it abysmal, but you can't deny that the way they made the animals is a perfect blend of both realistic and highly expressive. And being highly expressive is just incredible. But aside from that, all I need to say is Disney, cast Dwayne Johnson. Yeah, you know what? I think, you might be onto something. I, for one, am a huge fan of Animal Logic. I really do feel like they are the unsung heroes of animation right now, especially with the fact that they have done some incredible animation, especially for movies like the Lego movies and for Happy Feet. And especially if you look at what they've done with Happy Feet, like, if they went with that direction, then it could possibly work out. And honestly, with that ending thing that you say, honestly, screw it. Screw everything. If you're gonna make a Bambi remake, just go insane with it. How about that? Like, don't try to stay true to the original. Just go freaking bonkers with it. Try to make it a freaking try to make it a Michael Bay style action-packed film. Make it like a spiritual successor of the Fast and Furious, and try to make people arouse about these animals. Try to make them as hot and sexy as possible. Just go nuts with it. If you are gonna do a live-action remake of Bambi, go the fridge nuts. Go insane with it. Go crazy. Give me something I would not expect. Don't give me another 1942 film. Just give me something I would not expect coming from Bambi. Hopefully that can actually work out. Okay. Let's see. Oh god, it's the Funko movie all over again. Months ago, a fake news site, we got this covered, have posted about Disney making a live-action remake of Bambi. Now recently, it became a reality that I reacted with the face of Brer Fox from Song of the South. Okay, well, I mean, we got, yeah, no. We got this covered. That's just a website where they'll say anything and everything. I mean, literally all the movies that you think of, literally think of any Disney movie and they've announced a live action remake of that. And yes, they even went in the direction of like, oh, there's gonna be a live action remake of Home on the Range. Oh, there's already a remake of Frozen. Oh, they're already doing a live action remake of Ralph Breaks the Internet. They're all doing that thing, so that doesn't freaking count. Let's see now, what else do we have? Remember that crazy poacher who was arrested and sentenced to watch the original Bambi over and over again? I wonder if the live-action remake of Bambi will influence any more psycho poachers like him. I also wonder if they will include just CG animals, but also a few live-action animals like rabbits, or even film in a real forest. It's easier to do that than traveling and filming in a real jungle, right? I also wonder if they will include a human hunter live, or are they still going to keep them hidden? I mean, we don't really know. I mean, to be fair, the one thing I should say that should be fair is that they didn't necessarily specify if this is going to be more like a shot-for-shot remake that will stay like a little too true to the original in the veins of the Lion King remake, or if they are going to do something a little bit more different, if they are going to add new original characters, maybe like human characters onto it. I don't know. Maybe they will do it. Maybe they won't. But I can guarantee you, in terms of the forest, in terms of the animals, oh, they're definitely going to do it all CGI. I think they're just going to do one shot that's just like in a live forest, but the rest is just going to be all CGI, and that's it. Now, let's see now. quoting Saberspark. No! No! Yes, I'm sure we all feel like Noah at this point. Let's see now. What other comments do we have here? Maybe instead of making live action, maybe making a live action remake, do remastered animation. I don't know about that. Maybe do something original. Show of hands, who wants John Cleese to be the voice of Owl? John Cleese? You know, the funny thing is, like, if we are gonna go back to the Monty Python members, I could actually see more either Eric Idle or Michael Palin. Michael Palin would definitely do a great job as Friend Owl. I could definitely see him do the voice of him. Like if we have to pick of the Monty Python members, I would definitely go with Michael Palin being Friend Owl. I think it would work out. I could definitely see him do that little bit of Twitter painting. I think it would definitely work out, at least much more than John Cleese. I don't know John Cleese as like Friend Owl. It's like, oh, look over there. It's very lovely, don't you think? These birds are Twitter painting. You know, everybody Twitter paints in the springtime. Let me tell you exactly how it is about Twitter painting. You get quiver in your knees, you're light as a feather, you know, and it could happen to you, and yes, it could even happen to you. You know, it doesn't necessarily fit. I mean, you hear John Cleese, but it doesn't sound like Friend Owl, you know what I mean? Let's see, I'll go and read one more comment here. I've seen a lot of people on the internet who would rather want a live-action remake of The Black Cauldron, Atlantis, or Treasure Planet because, despite being considered flops at the cinemas, they have gotten a good amount of dedicated fans over time and may work out since they are more unique compared to the rest of other Disney movies. Well, that's definitely more of a positive way to look at it. And with all that said, I think that should cover this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And let me just say thank you so much for listening and watching. Oh, and one more thing before you guys go. This isn't necessarily a sponsored thing, but I think it is important to go and mention, especially the fact that we are all animation fans, that tonight, considering this is January 25th, keep an eye out for the Annie Awards. If you go on the Annie Awards website, I believe you can actually go and watch it live on you can watch the live stream of it And you can actually go and watch the award show live, where you could see some of the major winners, and especially the fact that there is some massive competition right now to see who would win. There's right now some pretty tough competition out there, especially against like Klaus, Frozen 2, Missing Link, Toy Story 4, and many others. So this is definitely something that you got to keep an eye out. And yes, in the next episode, I will definitely be covering the winners of the Annie Awards. So with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, see you later, dudes!